In the Washington
Peter,
airport.
Could I get you to give me a mic check, please?
Sure.
Mic check. Just give me a 10-9-8-7-6.
Good morning. This is Peter Lefferts from downtown St. Petersburg, where I arrived a month late for the Super Bowl.
Good. And Brendan?
Hi, my name is Joe Blow. I'm Reggie Roundtree. Good to be here. God bless you. I'm Bob Height, coming to you live.
Kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal.
He wants us to take.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarina Fazan, a journalist, producer, and the host of On the Record. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and boy, do I feel lucky today. Thank you so much for joining me for this podcast episode. With me is Alex Sink, a very familiar name, an inspiring woman in this community. In the other studio, okay, I've made it no secret, Brendan McLaughlin, of course, is one of my mentors. He is here with me today, as well as Peter Lefferts. We have so much to talk about. We're going to talk about St. Patrick's Day. We're going to talk about a great initiative called the Artspace. So are you ready? We're ready to go on the record. Let's get started. Hey, Bren.
Hey, Sarina. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you.
Bren, I know today is one of your most favorite days. You actually have an Irish passport. I want you to take it away and tell us why you love St. Patrick's Day and your heritage first.
Well, as my parents would say, I'm as Irish as Paddy's pig. And it's been confirmed by 23andMe. But no, I really did grow up in an Irish Catholic family, and St. Patrick's Day was a big deal. And it always has been one of my favorite holidays for so many reasons. It's a cultural thing. I love the Irish music. I actually love Irish food, corned beef and cabbage, one of my faves. Don't mind an Irish coffee to finish it off either. And so yeah, it's fun. And today we're going to have a wee gathering at the thatched roof house we have in Tampa Heights.
Oh my gosh, how much fun. Well, Bren, I think we also have to mention that your son is also named Patrick.
So he is. That's another reason.
No, I love, Brendan shared a post on Patrick's birthday, and he said something like, it was so sweet that, of course, as he's a baby, he's your son, but now he's your favorite guy in the world. It really brought tears to my eyes as well. It was very, very sweet. Well, I'm so glad that you're here, Brendan, with us, and Alex, of course, and Peter, and we're going to talk about Artspace. So, Alex, why don't we start with you? And you are really connecting the community on this initiative. What is Artspace about, and why is it so important?
Well, that's right. We're so excited, and there's a whole group of community leaders and activists and artists in this community, and I'm glad that Peter Lefferts is here because he has the national perspective. But what is it? Artspace is a national organization that's done 55 projects around the country. And what are the projects? They provide multifamily housing at affordable rates so that artists can live, work, and play and do their art at affordable housing prices. So what you have to imagine is it's not just any apartment complex, but it will be a building in which artists have to apply, and they're going to get subsidized rental rates so that they can afford to continue their art pursuit, whatever that happens to be. It could be music, it can be art, it can be sculpture. So Peter's going to give us a lot more color about it, but for us, right time, right place, Sarina. If you look around what's going on in around downtown Tampa, Channelside, Encore Project, all the Ybor projects, West Tampa, Tampa Heights, the thing that's missing is that cultural magnet. So not only is it a living space, but it's a place for the whole community to come and see artists at work.
That's fantastic, and there's so much to talk about the local community, but I want to toss it to Brendan right now. Brendan, you're with Peter. Can you guys give us a better perspective, and can you ask the questions, like on the national scope, what is Artspace and how we are brought into it?
Yeah, Peter, I did a little bit of research before I came in here, actually on the drive down. No, I did a little more than that. Yeah, these projects around the country, they are in California, Washington State. You had one in Fort Lauderdale here in Florida.
Yes.
And to me, they all look to be multi-unit spaces of various forms between maybe 20 and 100 units, somewhere in that range. And these are below market rents for folks that that can come in, and these are artists primarily. I guess my first question to you is how do you vet that? How do you make sure this isn't just another affordable housing project, and how do you make sure that you get that artistic component?
Very good question. A local committee under the guidance of Artspace reviews the applications to be sure these people are practicing in the arts. I would like to say that the Artspace concept takes a very broad view. Arts, for instance, they're poetry teachers.
Sure.
And the artists often have another part-time job, but the other part of the vetting is their income. In order to qualify for affordable housing, they have to have income which typically is at least 30% below the area median.
Right. Now, this does not exist in the Tampa Bay area yet. At what stage are we in terms of making Artspace happen in Tampa Bay?
We're at an early stage in what they call the path to a project. We've done the first step, which is called a feasibility study, which takes the temperature of the community to say, does this concept resonate? And now we're starting the second step, which is called an arts market study, which sizes and shapes the prospective project. Unsurprisingly, because this is something that in my 30 years in Tampa I've seen before, the consultants we brought in from my colleagues in Minneapolis were surprised at the depth and enthusiasm of the artist community here. And that kind of is part of the story, because we're not known so much for the arts as we are for events and transportation and distribution and
sports,
football.
Right. Sports, right. So as Alex alluded to earlier, the areas that are sort of being focused on in the Tampa Bay area right now, Ybor City, Seminole Heights, Tampa Heights, West Tampa.
Correct.
Downtown.
Right.
Did I miss one?
No, but they are the results of local research focus groups. And that brings forth a very important point about Artspace. It's driven by the local desire, what the community wants. So these communities you cited emerged from the research, and are very important. There are 4 constituencies, but most important is the artists themselves. They said, we would like to live here. And in Tampa, that has a specific profile with particular sensitivity to access and connectivity because we don't have a robust transit system. So they like places that are walkable or bikeable to their needs.
I'm struck a little bit by the fact that you're a St. Pete guy, right?
Well,
Pinellas County?
I've spent a lot of time over here, but at the moment I'm living in Tampa, and I've been in Tampa off and on for 30 years.
Okay, I misunderstood.
Okay.
But I don't want to put you on the spot, but is there a sense that there's perhaps more of a need for this type of thing on the Tampa side of the bridge than on the St. Pete side of the bridge?
Probably yes, because St. Pete is doing a robust job of identifying itself as a hub for the arts. Tampa, I don't think seizes that identity. It's not all bad news because Tampa has so many things going, particularly after you win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And you're a fabulous host for major events, world-class airport and all that. But in a sense, that's part of the reason for this project, because we believe the Tampa brand and the offerings of what the city has would be greatly enhanced and leveraged by an identifiable arts community.
I live in Tampa Heights, which I think is just the best neighborhood in the country. Maybe not even hyperbole. I stand by that. And it's Tampa Heights is a relatively small geographic area. Seminole Heights much bigger. Ybor City, of course, sort of has the historical foundation of an arts community, perhaps more than any of those others. Are we looking more likely at repurposing an existing structure or building from the ground up?
You've done your homework. Artspace does both. The most iconic properties, particularly one called PS 109 in Spanish East Harlem, New York, tend to be historic legacy buildings that were saved by repurposing them. But Artspace also does a lot of de novo buildings, sometimes echoing the local architectural heritage, but we do both. I will have to share with you that repurposing older buildings is often more expensive and more problematic.
I don't doubt that. Yeah, as any cigar factory owner will tell you. But if there's anybody out there that wants to partner with you, I think that would probably be a fabulous option, right?
You're right, and partners are very important because there's a great deal of work to be done in funding these so that they are permanently affordable. And that's where the will of the community comes in too. You know, if someone has an iconic building to donate, that could be very interesting.
Right. Now, I'm not an artist. I mean, I did make a lanyard at camp one summer, and my mother was very pleased.
In your mother's eyes,
blown
it was
away.
art.
Yeah, genius. But for somebody that might live in proximity to one of these projects, is there an opportunity for exhibition space and performances?
Yes, that's another excellent question, because these facilities energize the neighborhood, and artists make very good neighbors, both culturally, socially, and financially. Property values tend to go up around an art space project because it energizes the community, and it's not cyclical. It's not event-driven like a sports event or the tourist season. These people live there. And I want to emphasize, this is for resident local artists. It's different than a museum. And we do include public spaces and meeting spaces, which can become gathering spaces and exhibits and things like that. And I might mention in the Tampa research, there was an especially strong call in the research panels for meeting spaces. A lot of the artists in the panel said, you know, we haven't met before you called us in for this panel. So I think there's a lot of positive linkage.
Yeah, well, it's just like tech. I mean, having sort of a synergy, a critical mass of people in one area tends to just be very productive because there's collaboration between people in different disciplines and creates wonderful things. Sarina, cut me off whenever you like to come back.
This is great. No, Brendan, this is so great because you're asking such wonderful questions. See, Alex, Brendan always makes me look better. No, it's perfect timing because we are going to go to a commercial break. But after the break, Alex, I want to talk to you, expanding on what Brendan and Peter
Yes.
were talking about. And I also have a really big announcement to make on this podcast, on this very special St. Patrick's Day podcast. So we are going to go to a quick break, and we'll be right back. And again, we have so much more to talk about. Artspace is so exciting. Stay with
Very.
us.
Thank you.
I'm Sarina Fazan, and like most people, my skin is a priority. When you look good, you feel good. That's why I turned to South Tampa Dermatology, a full-service medical and cosmetic dermatology practice. Dr. Flynn and her dream team offer the products, services, and procedures I need to keep my skin healthy so I can perform at my very best, and they can do the very same thing for you. It's affordable, and your confidence is priceless. Just head to stderm.com or call 813-872-9551 to make an appointment.
I'd like to build on your last point.
Hey guys, thank you so much. Welcome back. We are here with Alex Sink, Peter Lefferts. Brendan McLaughlin is co-anchoring with me today on this very special St. Patrick's Day. It's one of Brendan's favorite day. And we're talking about art and the beauty of art. Now, Alex, I want to turn to you. You're involved in so many projects, and thank you for that. No, helping to build the community. And you're going to be on future podcast on some of these amazing projects, but they're off the record for right now because today is about Artspace. Why did you get involved with Artspace, and why do you feel it is so important?
Well, like many people, I studied piano for 14 years. I come from a music educator family. I love music. I love the arts. Community theater, Tampa theater. We could go on and on about the importance of the arts. We're finding, I work in technology a lot, and many people in technology are also musical or artistic. So it makes your life broader and richer. And the fact that we've come so far here in Tampa, I mean, look at the Strass Center. I could go on and on, Sarina, but the part that's missing is supporting those people who are actually producing the art. And when I heard about this national group, because I don't believe in recreating the wheel, that there's already existing this national group. And let me say another thing for people who are familiar with other cities. I remember years ago, artists moving into the loft environment in New York City. They were just abandoned textile mills, and they moved in there because they had tall ceilings, and so and it was affordable in the Lower West Side. Well, it wasn't very long before the area got gentrified, and all the rich people moved in there because they thought it was cool, and it pushed the artist out. And the thing to remember about Artspace as a concept and as an entity, once they build this residential building, it stays affordable forever and ever and ever. And the artists are not going to be priced out of living in this space, for sure. And so for me, for us to have this will be a show place like the Strass Center or like Raymond James Stadium or like Emily Arena. We'll have our own show place to say to people who are thinking about moving to Tampa or visiting Tampa, look, and we also look at this thriving arts community we have right here in our midst. And if you want to go and visit a studio or meet a poetry writer or a creative writer or see sculpture or have an arts fair, just like the farmers market, why can't we have an arts fair every week for artists to show their goods? And so that's why I'm so excited. I think this is the cultural piece is the next piece for Tampa to really grab hold of. And it has a huge economic benefit to the community in terms of jobs for people in the arts. And, look, what we've been through in this pandemic for the last year, how horrible has it been? No Broadway shows, nothing going on to the Strass. The Stageworks, my favorite little community theater, has been darkened, and it's just like we're missing something. So that's why I love the concept of Artspace.
Artspace, absolutely. We had Michael Murphy on the podcast on the record a few weeks ago, and he owns, of course, the Michael Murphy Gallery, the longest gallery in place in all of Tampa right now. I think it's celebrating 15 years in one location. He's been there for 30 years. But back to what you were talking about, and about art, and Brendan asked Peter this question, and the neighborhoods. I mean, you have seen that beautiful artwork around you, it does uplift the neighborhood for everybody, right, Alex? I mean, it prices go up, everything goes up. But I want to go back to your point on keeping the artists there, though. So
Yes.
Artspace is dedicated to that. Is keeping
Absolutely. And in fact, because part of the financing for the building is to take advantage of something called low-income housing tax credits. There are tax credits available to investors. There are benefits for investors to invest in a project like this, but the and we're going to have to work with the government to make this happen. But one of the requirements is that it stays as housing for lower income people. So actually what we hope is that there's turnover, that as artists become more and more successful and their income levels rise, they won't qualify to live in this location anymore. So that's how we ensure that we have to ensure that the people living there are in fact involved in the cultural community, they're artists, but they also have to prove that their income levels are, as Peter mentioned, below the median income. Otherwise, the building itself does not qualify for a low-income housing project.
So what if, though, and we hope that the artist income also grows, are they still secure in their building?
No, they won't qualify.
Okay.
They will no longer qualify to, and they'll understand that going in, but it's a trade-off, you know.
Right.
You
No,
always
they're-
want
yeah, of
you always
course.
want your family income to be increasing and to become more and more successful as an artist. And but the fact that you're able to live in this place with very affordable housing costs, you know, that's just a huge benefit. And another thing about the location is when Artspace did all these surveys of local arts communities, you know, if they're living in a lower income, they don't want to have to have two cars, for example. They want access to public transportation. They want to be able to walk to the grocery store or maybe even walk to their children's school. And so all these things combine to lower their monthly costs so that they can really afford to be artists.
Yes, and their passion. Hey, Brendan, I want you to take it away now to talk to Peter about the funding, though, and, you know, from the national perspective on getting the funding, the backing, and then, Alex, you and I can come back to talk about the local aspect of it. Bren?
Yeah, here with Peter Lefferts. Are you currently on the national board? Or
Yes.
Yeah, currently, and also spearheading the drive in Tampa Bay to get this Artspace project off the ground. Alex referred to what happened in New York City over the years. Happened here in a sense,
Yes.
notably Ybor City, which
Exactly.
has been always historic, not polished, which is part of what we love about it.
Right.
Very friendly to LGBTQ
Exactly.
community, and it's almost unique in that way in the Tampa Bay area. And certainly artists have been forced out in a sense because of the rising real estate prices. How do you approach that when you come into a city? If you had been here in 2010 or 2009,
Right.
you'd have had your pick.
Right.
You know, they were giving properties away. That's not the case anymore. How much of a challenge is that financially for this organization in terms of the amount of money you got to raise?
It's fundamental, as Alex referenced, and that's why it's so much work and so much careful planning to assemble the funding, what developers call the capital stack, so that it's durable. It's a durable, affordable situation, and that's fundamental to the model. I was smiling as you were mentioning it because I was present for the birth of the musical Rent, which is based on La Bohème.
Sure.
And they were artists being gentrified.
Right out. Sure. I mean, it's a well-known phenomenon. But the importance, and this is part of your message, of course,
Right.
in terms of an essential part of your pitch, and that is that this is essential to having a well-rounded community and an attractive place for people to come, live, work, and play, as they say so often.
I'd like to make a comment about that, if I may.
Sure.
Often, maybe because I worked in for-profit financial institutions for a long time, I am asked to present what is sometimes called the business case for this. And it's very simple. A vibrant arts culture and community in a city is what 21st century talent is looking for. And we have seen this dramatically during COVID with remote working. Talent lives where it wants to live, and employers follow. And you'll see right here in St. Pete and in many other communities how progressive communities with whom we often compete, like Austin, Texas and Nashville, they market their arts community, not just because of the beauty of the arts, but because of its value as an asset to the economy.
Yeah.
I also might mention, and you said earlier, arts is kind of, to me, the motherland for diversity. It teaches you to see things differently. And so it's a cultural enricher also.
Yeah, certainly theater is a great example of that. And it came as a surprise to me many years ago when it was pointed out that the Straz Performing Arts Center puts more behinds in the seats, as they say, than Raymond James Stadium.
Yes.
There's so much focus on professional sports and how some people think, oh, it's essential, you know. But in fact, those theaters, and there's multiple theaters at the Straz, really are just a dynamic place that draws so many millions of people over the years.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you're right. There's an easy economic argument to be made. Sarina?
So, Brent, my question is, though, who funds Artspace and so maybe Peter can talk about, like, who funds it on the national level? I know, of course, it's people donating, and how can our local community help? And maybe Alex, you can, you can start.
Yeah, well, let me start out by saying that you heard us say that there's been, the phase one was just determined whether there was even a need. And so we engaged Artspace to run all these focus groups, and a small amount of money was raised from local people to be able to fund that. The answer we've gotten back is a resounding yes. They just cannot believe the opportunities and the demands from the community, which leads to phase two, which this arts market study that Peter mentioned, which is going to scale out, well, how big of a facility, where should it be, what would the cost potentially be, and we're in the process of raising up to about $75,000 from local supporters. And we're a little bit more than halfway there.
Congratulations.
It's just been really phenomenal. So that's a way that people can help for just a little bit, any donation, small or large. And then after that's done, which we're sure that it's going to lead to the next phase, that's when you get into the financing, borrowing money, finding investors. There's a philanthropic element to it. We would love for somebody to give us the land, for example. So all the Artspace, as our consultant, will put together all those pieces of that probably $30 million project. But for right now, Sarina, we're raising money gathering the money together for this next phase, and we're going to have a launch. And so we want to encourage your listeners to visit artspacetampa.com, maybe .org, but it's Artspace Tampa. We do have a website, and what we need people to do is, first of all, we need a broader segment of the community. So if you know any artists, any people that might be interested in this concept, they need to be able to fill out. We want thousands of surveys filled out by people in the arts community for sure. And we're looking for donations from $5 to $500 to $5,000 to help us get to the point of funding this next part of the study.
Well, again, congratulations for already being halfway through and almost up to that $75,000. I know that if I can help in any way, we would encourage, again, the listeners to follow you on any of your social media pages. Again, I know Brendan's a huge supporter of the arts. Of course, we'd love to, and we love our community. So
I know we need email. We need your email, and we need your surveys to be. We need surveys to be thousands of surveys to be filled out. So that's an easy thing for everybody to do.
That's so exciting, and I'm excited to be a part of it. Brendan, before we close out the show, do you have, and my announcement, do you have any other questions for Peter or anything you would like to add?
I'll turn it over to Peter, and if you have any final point that you'd like to make with respect to Artspace and how people might be able to help.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity and for doing your homework so well. I guess the one thing I would say is we believe that Artspace is an idea whose time has come for Tampa. We've done so many other things to create a national identity, a national brand, and a wonderful magnet city for talent and enterprise. We think this would complement all of that, and the time is now.
Okay. I hope you come to my neighborhood. Best of luck. I'll sign off just by saying an Irish toast. May the road rise to meet you. May the rain fall soft upon your fields. May the wind be always at your back. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the hollow of his hand. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
I love that quote. And so I love that quote. Brendan, I'll probably be coming over this evening, by the way. You shouldn't have announced your little gathering.
You know where I live. You're welcome.
So I have a big announcement to make on the St. Patrick's Day, and I'm very excited about it. It's the release came out today. Visit Tampa Bay, and I love Tampa Bay. I think I made it very clear that I love Tampa. Has just announced me as their host for their podcast. So thank you. So Unlocking Tampa Bay with Sarina Fazan, the first podcast is now available on YouTube, on all my social media channels, on the city's channel. So I would encourage you to watch that as well. We'd love, of course, we'll be talking about art through that journey as well. So thank you everyone for all your support as always. And that brings us to an end of another episode of On the Record. Thank you so much again, Alex Sink, Peter Lefferts, Brendan McLaughlin for co-anchoring with me, and for all of you sharing your story. And thank you again, everyone, for joining us. You can follow me on all my social media platforms, and you can subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode. Until next time, stay safe.